Hey guys, I'm Randy.
And I'm Daniel.
We're two lifelong friends and musicians, but when we're not playing gigs, we like to talk games.
And today on the Gaming Gig Podcast, we're giving our thoughts on episode 1 of the HBO Last of Us show.
Okay, Daniel. So, HBO has done an adaptation of The Last of Us, and
They finally did it.
last night, at the time of this recording, they aired the first episode.
That's a fact. We even streamed early and cut our stream early so that we could watch it on time.
And we did.
Yeah,
It was pretty great.
it was.
So
Spoilers.
Not spoiler. I mean, spoilers. We liked it. I will say first off that I did like it. But yeah, that's what we're talking about today. We're going to be talking about the adaptation, and there will be spoilers for the first episode as well as just The Last of Us in general. So if you're not into that, I'm sorry.
But only part 1 of The Last of Us.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like, yeah, we're going to try to, maintain our spoilers to the first episode, but we will be talking about things, and I figured it'd be too hard to talk about the episode without talking about the episode.
Yeah,
so
and at this point, like, the whatever it's called, the statute of limitations has run out on Last of Us spoilers, I think.
Agreed. It's been
Maybe not part 2, but part 1 for sure.
It's been like 10 years, so.
Yeah.
So we are going to try to make this discussion as organized as we can. I know, like, talking about a show, it can be easy for us to ramble, and we tend to do that anyway.
Yeah.
But we're going to be doing this. We're going to go in this order. We're going to talk about our opinions on the casting. We're going to talk about the similarities and differences from the game. We're going to talk about our predictions on future episodes or future seasons. And then finally, we're going to go over a poll that kind of gauges the hype and interest behind this adaptation in general.
Heck yeah.
So, first, casting.
Casting.
I say we start with the big one. I mean, the big two.
The big two. They're equal.
Yeah. And that is Joel and Ellie's casting. So, for Joel, we got Pedro Pascal.
That's right, Pedro Pascal, the Mandalorian himself.
So, this is actually my favorite. I'll just go ahead and say it. Out of all the casting, Pedro Pascal, I think, is an amazing Joel. I loved him as Joel. I think that he does a great job of it.
I agree.
I think the thing he does best is like the Joel mannerisms and the Joel voice.
The Joel voice is good.
There's at times it's like uncanny good.
Yeah.
It's not always perfect.
It's not always perfect, but at times it is really, really good.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
Yeah.
And so I think he does a really great job with that in general. But like, I didn't realize like how different his voice was from the voice he's doing on the show. That's not his natural voice.
No, definitely not.
No, I like watched an interview. They like showed an interview thing after it, after it, and I was like, oh my God, his voice is not like that at all. He's definitely putting on a voice for the performance, and he's doing a really good job. In my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, Pedro Pascal's awesome. I mean, he was in Game of Thrones, so this is not exactly his first time on HBO, but he was great in Game of Thrones. I'm not gonna go into the scene that he was famous for, but it's very graphic. You can find it on the internet, no problem. And the Mandalorian too. Like his voices are never the same. I mean, he's a great actor.
Oh yeah, he's nailing it. I'm really interested in seeing what he does. But I mean, like, it's obvious to me that he's taking a lot of inspiration from like Troy Baker.
Oh yeah,
and
you better.
And yeah, I mean, like when Joel is that. Like, Joel is the kind of character, it's not like he's an ambiguous, like you can do your own spin on him.
No.
I like that he's trying to be faithful to what has already been done.
And there's going to be plenty of opportunities for him to stretch his acting chops in moments that weren't in the game. I mean, we're watching a show, so.
Right. And in the same kind of vein, we have Ellie, who is portrayed by Bella Ramsey.
Yep. Also not her first time on HBO. Also Game of Thrones.
I'm not familiar with any of her stuff, so I mean, okay.
Yeah. She was good in Game of Thrones too.
Also, the voice she's using is not her natural voice.
No.
She's a Brit.
She is.
And but
that's a fact.
And at times, and she is, in my opinion, trying to go for that Ashley Johnson style voice. Like not obviously not like to a T, but there are times when her voice is pretty spot on to Ellie's actual voice from the game. So I mean, like,
she's bringing the spunk.
Yeah, definitely. I think that she's a pretty good casting. I really do think that it's. I mean, what were your thoughts? Did you? I mean, I just don't. I think this is one of those instances where you can't top the original. I don't know that she's like. I don't think it's quite as good as Joel's. As Pedro's portrayal of Joel. I don't think she's doing quite as well, but it's still really, really good.
Yes, I mean Ellie's my girl.
Yeah,
and I think she's doing a great job, and I think she is a great casting choice. The her face is not exactly like Ellie. Like, it took me a little bit of an adjustment to get to, but also, like, we've talked about how Ellie's like in the game, like, she's got some big old eyes, and like it's gonna be hard to match that. So then it's not like you can turn back the clock and get like young Ellen Page. Which is,
right, which is what she was based on.
yes.
Yeah, I agree. And good thing about Joel is that one, Joel has some facial hair, which kind of covers up, like kind of makes that resemblance a little easier to pull off.
For sure.
And you can style the hair in a very similar way to what Joel's is. And like, it's just easier to make Pedro look like Joel than it is to make Bella look like Ellie.
Yes, but I think
as
far as the mannerisms, yeah, the clothes. I mean, as soon as I showed those red Chucks,
right,
I was like, here we go.
She's got on the Converse. Yep.
She's nailing it. She's doing a great job.
Definitely from the first episode, it seems like she's really getting the personality and like the aura of Ellie.
Yeah,
which is good.
And Ellie's all personality.
Oh,
so
yeah.
You better.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not one of those opportunities where the kid needs to take like a back seat to the adult lead. Like, this is like, you got to step it up,
when we're talking about casting stuff, you see like people like all the time when people do like, oh, here's what celebrity I would cast for this. And it's always based on appearances. And like, you can't just do that. You got to be able to embody the character more importantly than the way they look, and I think that she's doing a really good job with that.
I do too. I've liked her since Game of Thrones. So I'm happy to see her back.
The next, in terms of big casting that I think was perfect, was Marlene, because it's the same person that played Marlene in the game.
Oh, see, I didn't even notice that, but
So
I was gonna say that Marlene was the most like faithful cat. Yeah, okay, I didn't realize that.
It's the same person.
Okay,
so like
that makes sense.
Yeah, that's like the most. Of course, that's the most faithful casting.
When I saw Marlene, I was like, that's spot on.
Yeah, so
I didn't do any research on who was in the game for her.
Same person. So of course that's gonna be the perfect casting. It is Marlene.
She killed it.
Yeah, so she did a really great job. Also, you got here,
More to come from her later.
We've got Tess, in this, Tess is way more fleshed out, even in the first episode, than she was in the entire game.
Way more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about maybe some of those specifics a little later, but Tess definitely got a little more love, a little more screen time.
Yeah, and this is like one of those things like, Tess, although was an important character, I mean, she was a more minor character than she is in the show, so it's hard to say like how great the casting is for Tess, because Tess is just way more and because of that much different than the Tess from the game.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, as far as like her attitude, I thought it was pretty similar to what I remember from the game, but yeah, I mean, Tess just didn't get as much screen time, so
yeah.
I don't know how. She's going to get more.
And I think this is one of those things like I'm glad they're giving Tess more time, because it's going to make some things that happen in the future more impactful.
Mm-hmm, yes.
Because, Tess is going to be a more developed character.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I guess we shouldn't say what that is.
Well, I mean, I don't think it really. I think we have to. I think we have to.
Do we have to? I mean, that's like spoilers for the future of the show. I mean, I don't know. This is tough.
This is tough.
We didn't really work this out ahead of time.
And my thought is we're spoiling the Last of Us game. That's part of the Last of Us game, and this is just going to be... I'm assuming if you're watching this, you've played the Last of Us, and you know what's going to happen. If you've just watched the show and you don't know about the game, this may not be the podcast for you.
Okay, well, second spoiler alert. Here you go.
Yeah.
If you haven't played the game, you don't want to know what's going to happen in the show, quit it right now.
Yeah, leave. Okay, yes. So I think that when Tess dies later on, which she will, I think that'll be
probably next episode.
I think that'll be a much bigger. Just looking at the casting things here, I know that Tess is in 5 episodes out of the 9.
Wow.
There's 9 episodes, so I know that she's in 5. Now those could be like flashbacks, but
could be.
So
how are they going to go 4 more episodes from where we left off in the first episode to making it to that museum?
Maybe it's flashbacks.
Is it a museum? It's something like that.
They're going to
it's the Capitol.
The Capitol.
Yeah. Yeah, it might be flashbacks.
Could be flashbacks. I don't know. But I was okay with Tessa's casting. I think that she's doing a good job. And like it's hard, like I said, it's hard to say because it's a more fleshed out character, which I do like.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's a show, so you got to do that. Like you don't have the gameplay sections,
Right.
So.
Yeah.
And you know, kind of jump into another casting choice here, but Sarah, the actress who played Sarah, I also see is in 2 episodes.
In 2 episodes instead of just.
And we already saw.
We know that she's dead, so maybe there's some flashbacks or something. So I don't know, but yeah, we have. What did you think about her portrayal of Sarah?
I thought she was good.
Again, more fleshed out than the game, so it's kind of hard to. It's not an apples to apples comparison here.
Yeah, I thought she did really good, and in her death scene, I got a little emotional. I kind of felt it.
Yeah,
but that happens to me every time.
Yeah, me and Catherine were talking about that. We're talking about how, like, no matter how many times we've seen that particular scene, that's a tough scene no matter what. And that's they did a really good job. I thought that they really nailed that particular scene because that's such a powerful scene. And they had to nail it, I think. And I think they did a good job. I don't think it was quite as powerful as the game, though. I just think that, like, Pedro, like, he did a great job with it. Troy did such a good job portraying the grief of losing a child in that moment that I just don't think you can top it.
Yeah. And I don't want to take anything away from Pedro because I really thought he crushed the crap out of it.
I think he did great. But, like, you just, like, that's, like, one of the best moments of acting of all time that Troy Baker gave in that particular moment.
Yeah. So anyway, that was a moment. Let's move on because I don't want to be sad. The only one we haven't talked about here is Tommy, who's played by Gabriel Luna. And I don't know if we mentioned it, but Sarah Miller is Nico Parker.
Yeah. So Tommy, you know, we'll find out. I'm assuming that Tommy is, I mean, we know Tommy is a much more important character later on down the line in terms of the story of The Last of Us. So we'll see a lot more of him in the future.
Well, he's in all 9 episodes.
Yeah. I mean, like... in terms of the casting, I mean, he had some Tommy-esque things going on. I don't know. This is the one to me is like that maybe wasn't like I don't think he's trying to go for the exact same type of Tommy as what we saw in the game.
Yeah, that was a tough one for me. I mean, you know, if we're going purely like aesthetically, like I didn't know he was Tommy at first.
Yeah.
You know, so like right there, like they're taking a little bit different approach towards Tommy. You know, I thought he did a good job, but I agree. They may not be going for, like, the most faithful game Tommy.
And, you know, like, Tommy is an important character, but I would argue that Tommy really becomes even more important of a character in The Last of Us Part 2 as opposed to the first game, where he's there, but he's a more minor character.
He is, and I have a note about that later.
Yeah.
About how they're doing some things with Tommy. But.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting to see. So in terms of casting, I think it's really great. It's probably about, I mean, to me, the casting is about as good as it's going to get in terms of a, you know, adaptation without having the original people doing it.
Really good job, Marlene.
Yeah, Marlene was perfect.
That's so funny.
All right, so let's talk about the similarities and differences from the game.
Okay. Well, hit us with some timeline numbers here, Randall.
Okay, so the immediate thing like that jumps out is that this is set in a different time period than the game. Because in the show, in the HBO show, it starts you out in 2003 and then has a jump after the events of 2003, 20 years later to 2023. Now, there is a 20-year time jump in the game, but it's from 2013 to 2033. So we're talking about it's set 10 years back for some reason.
I wonder why they did that.
No idea. I can't figure out why.
You know, I did, and I even noticed it because Joel's cell phone is pretty iconic from the beginning of that game because you have to find it as Sarah. And I noticed in the show that it was an old Nokia brick, and in the game I think it's more like BlackBerry-esque or something like that. And I remember
like a more
thinking,
2013 phone instead of 2003. Yeah,
I was like, man, that's an old phone. So yeah, I mean, I don't know why they did that.
I don't know unless they just want. Like, I have 2 predictions. My prediction is that they just wanted it to be set in 2023 because that's like right now.
That's probably it.
Catherine, my wife, her guess was that they did it. My wife, she said that she thinks they did it because she said, "Oh, the early 2000s is really trendy right now." Now, I don't know if that's true or not. That's what she said.
Why is the early 2000s trendy? See, we don't keep up with that sort of thing.
No. So, I mean, maybe there's some trendy thing that I don't know about. So they wanted to have that be set in the early 2000s. I don't know.
You know, they also really were driving home the whole global pandemic thing at the very beginning, which I thought they did a great job kind of setting up the game or the show. But, we did kind of just come out of a global pandemic here in 2023. So
Maybe that's why
they're just trying to really hit the nail on the head,
Yeah, I think that the most logical thing to me is that they just want it to be set as if it's in present day right now. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we have some stuff about how they're adding to the show to flesh out some certain characters.
Mm-hmm. And changing some things because of that, too.
Yes. Yeah. And I actually took a couple of notes during the show, and this is one of the notes I took down. I wrote down. So if you remember when you start the game, you're Sarah, you're walking around this empty house. Mm-hmm. It's creepy, right? Then there's like bombs going off in the distance. You don't really know what's going on. And Joel is nowhere to be found.
Right.
Now, as a gamer, you don't really question that sort of thing because that happens all the time. Mm-hmm. Like all the time, you're like in a creepy, empty place and you're looking for somebody and you can't find them, and eventually you do, right? And we just accept it. But I couldn't figure out why, when Sarah gave Joel his watch and then he fell asleep on the couch, I couldn't figure out why they added this thing about Tommy calling and being like, hey, man, I'm in jail. You need to come get me out. And then I thought about it, and it's like, oh, they had to explain why Joel wasn't in the house.
Right. When I played the game, I always assumed like Joel had heard commotion, whatever, and gone to the neighbor's house or something.
That's what I always just explained it away as to.
Yeah.
But now it's like a real concrete reason.
And so now they changed a little bit, and instead of him calling Tommy, being like, hey, you got to get over here, they're already together, which makes, honestly, more sense anyway.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah, so that kind of small change, but interesting change.
But it still gets you where you know you're headed. It's just,
yeah,
a little different roadmap. And the same thing with, like, in the game, if I remember correctly, Joel and Sarah are like standing in the downstairs, the office kind of room, and this neighbor comes and he like beats through the door, right? And Joel tries to talk him down and he shoots him, I think.
Yep.
In the show, Joel like gets out of this truck with Tommy and this creepy old woman who crushed it, by the way. MVP of the show, holy crap.
Definitely the scariest part.
Creepy woman.
Catherine loved that.
Yeah.
Well, she loved how creepy it was.
It was so creepy.
I don't know if she actually loved it. She may have hated it.
But instead of shooting her, Joel beat her to death with a wrench.
Yeah.
And I thought that was great because they're just ripping the Band-Aid off with like, hey, this guy's going to be really brutal, just so you know.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. I loved it.
Yeah, I think that was, all those changes were small, but there were little changes. One of the things I think was a bigger change that they kind of added was now it's like confirmed that Joel and Tess are in a relationship. Whereas in the game, okay, maybe it was a little hinted at, but it was never like 100% confirmed that like Joel and Tess had a thing, but now it's like definite. They've made it like a forefront. Like they definitely are in a relationship. And again, that's just going to make it a bigger moment when Tess inevitably dies.
Yes. Yeah. I had the same thought. Because it was never really confirmed in the game. We just kind of inferred. You
could infer that like maybe there was something going on there, but it's weird, there's this crazy stuff going on. So who knew what their relationship was or what,
Right.
But now we know for sure it's a romantic relationship, like definite.
You also wrote down here, Joel traveling to find and help Tommy. So I assume you mean like leaving.
Oh, no. No, I was saying that. Oh, yeah, I was actually talking about, about how Joel was already going, like in the show, they have like Joel's thing, like he was going to leave anyway to go help Tommy, and that was definitely not a thing in the game. He was not planning on leaving the Boston QZ, as far as I know.
And I didn't even really get the impression in the game that Joel thought Tommy was coming back or anything.
Oh, well, yeah, they didn't even talk about.
They
Tommy.
had just separated. Like
yeah, they had like had like a thing that's broke them up essentially, like years back.
Yeah.
And I don't know. They added this in, but like I thought it was weird that. I guess they're trying to make it seem more like reasonable that Joel would want to go on this big adventure that they're about to go on because he's leaving anyway. Whereas in the game, it's like, you owe me, Joel. You got to do this. Like,
and it's like we accept it because we're playing a game. Right, we want to go on a big adventure. Right?
And Joel didn't really have any motivation to do that. And I guess they're adding this in so that he has like a reason to go.
Right.
Of his own.
Yeah. And I wrote down here that I think, right now Joel's primary driving force is I want to find Tommy. Right. And he's got this kid. He isn't going to like her for many episodes.
Right.
So I think, eventually we're going to see Joel's motivation change from I want to find my brother to, wow, this kid's really freaking important and I love this kid.
Right.
And of course, eventually he's going to find Tommy and
Whereas in the game, he really didn't have a motivation to be doing it besides, like, you know, Marlene told him to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was like that was it.
And
originally his goal was only to get her to the Capitol building.
Yeah.
And then that was where you were supposed to leave her. So I mean, like, really, they needed
Yeah.
a reason. I do think they needed a motivation.
Well, it kind of went south, at the Capitol building.
Right. Well, we're gonna get there.
And I don't even remember him. We've already kind of mentioned that Joel didn't really want to go find Tommy in the game, but it just kind of seemed like it came out of the blue in the game. Like they need somewhere to go, and he's like, "Oh, well, my brother is over here. Let's go see if he can help us."
Yeah.
Now it's just more of a upfront idea.
Yeah, it seems like they're trying to like rationalize some of the things that happen in the game that maybe don't have the that we just know we got to do because we got to play this game.
Right. I've never thought about how much stuff can be just explained away as like, well, I've got to play this game.
Right. And they're just adding some things. So let's talk, now we kind of talked about some of the differences between the show and the game. Let's talk about some of the similarities. So like, there were some like, I would like to say, I'm sure they're going to be like today on YouTube, there's going to be comparisons showing shot for shot things. Cause there were moments that I felt like were pretty dang like shot for shot from the game.
Oh yeah.
Like some things that stuck out to me like immediately as being like identical to what I remember in the game was there is when they first get in the truck and they're driving away and from with Sarah and there's that burning house, like all that like was like exactly
those people on the side of the road that Joel says keep going.
Yeah, like there are some very shot for shot moments there.
Oh yeah.
Did you notice any that you were like you noticed were like, oh yeah, that was exactly like it was in the game?
Yes. And then I also noticed them subverting gamer expectations a little bit with moments like that. So again, in the truck, we know that eventually the truck crashes. Sarah breaks her ankle. They're on foot now, right?
Yeah.
Well, in the game, pretty sure they got T-boned.
They get like T-boned, yeah.
And in the show, they almost got T-boned. But then they didn't. And I was like, oh, they didn't get in a car crash. That's weird. And they turn around and a freaking plane crashes.
Yeah, that was crazy.
So there's just right there. They're like, I can tell they're trying to keep it fresh for people who played the game, but still get to the places they need to get.
Yeah. And I thought the plane crash scene was like, that was epic.
It's very TV.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, I thought it was pretty epic.
Yeah.
I liked it. I thought it was crazy. Yeah, that was cool. And another like shot for shot moment was when Joel and Ellie are finally together and Joel's like, watching over Ellie and they are in, I guess, like Joel's apartment and Joel lays down to sleep on the couch and he has that where he goes to sleep and then wakes up and they do the whole like just, show his face and then time goes by but you don't realize it thing like that happened in the game. That seemed to be pretty shot for shot for me.
I think Ellie even asked like, what am I going to do? And he was like, I'm sure you'll figure that out.
And
I think he even said that in the game.
Yeah. And then like you mumble when you sleep, like all that was directly from the game. Which
I don't remember the radio stuff. That was added.
That was added.
Yeah. Because they got to keep Tommy in your mind. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was, there were a lot of interesting exact moments and they did add some stuff, that were different. Another thing we didn't talk about earlier when we talked about differences is now like the QZ, the quarantine zone is now way more fleshed out in terms of like, we knew about like ration cards, we knew about all that stuff, but I feel like more of that gets fleshed out in part 2 than it is in part 1.
Yeah. And did we know Joel was selling drugs in the QZ?
I don't know. I don't remember that.
We knew that him and Tess were doing some nefarious.
Yeah, they were selling things, but I remember they were like, remember their whole buying weapons?
Yeah,
and now that's been changed to buying a battery for a truck so
Yeah.
they could leave. Like they've changed a lot of stuff like that.
And also, I don't remember Joel ever actually taking any drugs in the game, except for the fact
he would drink though. But yeah,
so in the game you do take pills.
You do take a lot of pills.
A lot of pills.
The
pills are. Is that how you upgrade or?
Yeah, that's you get the pills so that you can upgrade your like I don't know, it's one of the skill trees.
Yeah, it's like a skill tree because you heal health with bandages.
You do.
And med kits, but you do take a lot of pills. And I noticed in the show that Joel took a healthy handful of pills.
Yeah, they just need to show him just like down in,
Just bought by the bottle.
just like finding any random pill and just like chugging it, because that's what he does in the game. Any pill, it doesn't even matter. It's just pills. Give me pills.
So now Joel's a pill addict.
Yeah.
So that's.
Well, we knew he was a pill addict, but it never was in the story.
That's
It
true.
was just something you did.
Do you think that's why they put it in? Because he took so many damn pills in the
Wouldn't
game?
that be hilarious?
That
if
would
they
be
did? That would be
hilarious.
great. So we talked about the similarities. We talked about the differences. Now my favorite part: predictions on what we're going to see in future episodes and potentially future seasons.
Yep.
Okay, so my biggest question is do you think season 1 will finish the events of game 1, or do you think that the first game will stretch beyond the first season?
I think it'll stretch beyond.
I think so too.
Yeah. I think they would be burning through their source material too fast
Right.
if they did that.
I think that I saw I don't know if you guys watched the girlfriend reviews video
I
of
did.
it, but they seem to hint that they talked to old Neil Druckmann and that they had some big plans in store. And I'm thinking that this may be a situation where if The Last of Us does well and the show does well for HBO, they're going to cover the first game, second game, and then maybe even potentially this third game that's in development now. Like it may cover like who knows how much story this is going to cover.
Yeah. I just hope it doesn't turn into a Game of Thrones situation where the show goes past its source material and then gets weaker.
Let's hope, right? Let's hope that doesn't
Don't
happen.
let that happen, Neil.
Yeah,
I will come to Naughty
like,
Dog and scold you for being a naughty dog.
from what we understand, The Last of Us Part 3 is in development, but it could be, like what we got, Last of Us Part 2 in 2020.
I think it's going to be a hot minute.
I think it's going to be a while before we get Part 3. But who knows?
And shows also take a while, but not as long as games.
Right, so I think that I do think they will stretch. I think it'll take at least 2 seasons to get through the first game.
I do too. So I followed up with that is where do you think it'll leave off?
Oh, I think it will leave off based on what I saw from the like coming up this season thing. I think
didn't
it
watch
will.
that.
Okay, I think it will leave off when they get to Wyoming, or is it Wyoming? Is that where Tommy is? Is he in Wyoming?
Yeah, I think they said that.
I think that it'll leave off when they get to Tommy in Wyoming.
I think that's a pretty good.
That's a pretty good point. Like that's a pretty good moment.
So what would be the climax of the season? Like what's the biggest thing that happens before they get to Wyoming?
When
Pittsburgh?
I think that what if they leave off the first season when Joel gets impaled?
Well, I thought about that, but that's after
Is
Wyoming.
that after?
That's pretty close to the end of the game.
Because that's when you start. That's when you play as Ellie, and that would be a great moment to leave off.
That
on.
would be an excellent moment to leave off on it because that it's like wintertime at that point, and she well, first you go and play the DLC.
Wait, I think I saw in the things that it was wintertime at one moment. I think I saw in the thing that they showed part of it that it was in the wintertime. So maybe
If I remember correctly, Joel gets injured, and then Ellie takes him to that mall,
yes,
and that's where the DLC takes place, which I know is going to be in the show
it has to
because
yeah.
I saw a clip of that.
Oh, so even that's in the first season.
Yeah, I don't remember the girl's name, Ellie's love interest, but I saw just a small clip, and I recognized.
Yeah, but the
him.
DLC, like the DLC's in 2 parts. One of it is before the show, and part of it is current. So they could be doing flashbacks to the DLC, to one part of the DLC.
Yes,
So it may not
It would
go
be a
into the mall.
flashback. It would be a flashback.
They may not do the mall stuff.
They might not, but the DLC takes place in a mall too.
I know,
Part of it, so it's like that,
But
and those happen like concurrently.
but that is in the Boston QZ,
Oh, you're right.
not in
That's not the same mall.
Not the
is
same
it?
mall.
You're right. Ellie just has like flashbacks.
flashbacks during
Yeah.
the thing. So I think they're going to treat that separately. If I think that there would be a good moment to have it when Joel gets impaled, because it's like you think Joel's dead.
Yeah.
And then that's going to be a big, like, for people who are, especially if they haven't played the game, if they're just watching the show, that would be a huge moment to leave off on this Joel's supposed death.
Or they could go just barely past that and have Joel, hold up for the winter healing and have Ellie get captured and end off on like Ellie just got captured. Joel is barely still 1 foot in the grave. You know.
I'm interested to see where they call it
Yeah.
and what they're gonna do, but I don't know. I could see that. I could see them going to just getting to Tommy, but I think that the best moment would be somewhere when Joel gets impaled.
Yes, because in my memory that is well over halfway through the game, but there's still a lot to do. From that point on, it's like all gas.
Yeah.
You know, so your second season could just be all gas.
Right. Yeah. Definitely.
You know,
I mean, and who knows when they're going to do the whole like.
When are we going to see Ellie pet the giraffe?
She's going to pet that giraffe.
She's definitely going to pet the giraffe.
Yeah. So, in future seasons, I think that I agree. I don't think season 1 will finish the game. I think it's going to be at least 2 seasons. And then if we go into The Last of Us Part 2, I could easily see The Last of Us Part 2 being like 4 seasons long if they really wanted to make, because there's like Last of Us Part 2 is so much more massive of a game in terms of story and has so much going on.
Sure. Yeah. That would be a lot of seasons, but it could be done.
Oh yeah, man. The Last of Us Part 2 has got so much more story, especially when you consider that you could say like 2 seasons of.
Now screw it. Go ahead.
Okay, you could have 2 seasons of Ellie's story and then 2 seasons of Abby's story. Like, totally, dude.
Man, that would be crazy. We have Ellie for 2 seasons, and then all of a sudden you just turn back the clock, and then you're Abby for 2 seasons, and then they do a 5th season of them like going at it. Man, we just planned out 7 years of The Last of Us.
7 years. And that's 7 seasons. And by then, we might have Last of Us Part 3, and then they can just go from there.
Okay, well, I'll wait on our check, Neil.
Yeah.
Neil and HBO.
So
we just planned it out for you.
I think it could I think that 100% we could easily see. I think we could have 7 seasons before we even get out of The Last of Us Part 2.
I think we could too.
Yep. So, there we go. Any other predictions for future episodes, future seasons?
No, I mean I'm excited. I'm excited to see Nick Offerman.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Excited to see that. You know, I'm
Bill,
just excited
is that
to see
the name
where
of
it
that character,
goes.
Bill?
Yeah, Bill.
Bill.
Bill's the man.
Yeah, I think that'll be interesting to see how it goes. I mean, like we'll continue to talk about this in the future on the podcast. We've talked earlier about before the podcast. We said that we might do once a week, do a quick update on the most recent episode and kind of our thoughts on it.
I'm excited to see our first clicker.
Dude, I know.
I'm excited to see our first bloater.
I know that's coming up
But clicker is, I think, will be bigger for me.
Well, I mean, clickers are the more common thing that we're
They're
going to see.
iconic.
Yeah.
You know, and you saw one in the trailer and it looked good.
Mm-hmm. So
I thought they were going to make that creepy old lady click for a second. Part of me thought
she can't click. She was barely a runner.
I know, but I just thought they might do it.
I was doing my clicker impression the entire time we were watching the episode, and Catherine almost killed me.
Yeah, I bet.
So let's move on to the poll. So this poll was done before The Last of Us show came out, and the question was, will you be watching The Last of Us? And I wanted to kind of gauge interest on the show. Mm-hmm. And hit us with them results, Daniel.
We have a little bit of a cascading effect here. Majority said, biggest result was yes, 33%. Eventually at 24%. I doubt it at 23%, and not a chance at 20%.
So...
and this doesn't surprise me because The Last of Us has just become one of those things that can almost be trendy to hate.
Yeah, I mean, it became divisive. Like the first game wasn't. It was, widely received and loved. And then the second game, for a lot of reasons that I don't necessarily think are good reasons, but I mean, you can argue that I would say there are some reasons that maybe you wouldn't like the game that are valid reasons, but I feel like a lot of the reasons that people don't like the game are not necessarily valid, or at least not great arguments against the game.
Yeah, that's a real nice way to put it.
Right. So, and I won't go into specifics, but I mean, like we have here, 33% of people saying, yeah, they're definitely watch it. 24% saying they'll get around to it. The people who say I doubt it, maybe those are people who they're saying, unless it reviews great and it's just like blows up and I just can't not watch it because it becomes like a cultural phenomenon.
I mean, it could be another Walking Dead. I'm excited to see like people that I know didn't play the game. I'm excited to see if they watch it and what they think of it, and if they even realize that it's a game. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, they're upfront about it being an adaptation of a game, but it doesn't just scream game. You know, I mean, it's just a show.
I mean, if anyone can make that happen, it's HBO.
Definitely. I already have some people in mind that I want to text and see if they watched it.
And you know they haven't played the game.
Yes.
Because if HBO is only getting gamers watching this, the show will be a flop.
Yeah.
It just will. I mean, it's just the truth. If they aren't able to stretch beyond gamers, it's just not like, because you think of like The Last of Us, although very successful, if it's only like people who have played the game, you're only going to get a certain percentage of them who are going to definitely watch it. But even if it's a majority of them, still that's not nearly enough to keep a show of this high production going for as long as they need it to go.
Well, they've been advertising it heavy, and people watch HBO, so this has been in front of people. And you know, just like with any old HBO show, like they're just going to see it and be like, "Oh, this new show called The Last of Us. I wonder what it's like. Oh, it looks kind of horror. Okay, maybe." I think they'll be okay. I really do, and it seems really high quality. So
yeah, super. Like they've obviously put tons of money into this, and I think that so far they've really nailed just the perfect amount of horror. Because it's not so much into horror that it's going to turn off people who aren't into horror stuff. They're not going to I just write it off as I can't watch horror. Like my wife is that way. She just won't watch horror, but she enjoyed the level of scares that the first episode had.
Yeah, I mean, you know, your friend and mine, Jake Baldino, said the same thing. He was like, this episode had some legit horror moments, you know, but it wasn't just balls to the wall scary.
Right.
And neither is the game, but it's got to have some legit scares.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't want to compare it to The Walking Dead because I love The Walking Dead, but you know, it kind of fell off, and I don't want that for this. So I'm not trying to draw direct comparisons there, but The Walking Dead did the same thing. It's a zombie show, but it's not necessarily a horror show, but it does have horror moments. And people loved it. It was the biggest show in the world for quite a while. So
we'll see. We'll see what happens here. We're due for a big show. We don't have that like big show right now.
Well, House of the Dragon's off the air.
You know, right. So, I mean, like, there's not that big show going on right now. So, I mean, like, I could see this filling a vacuum, you know?
Yeah.
And being that show that everyone's watching.
That would be awesome. That would make me so happy.
We'll see. Let's hope. So, we got comments here. First, we got Rainbow Hawk, 1993, who said, when the entire season is available so I can binge it within a month. Saying, I'll watch it when the entire season's open.
You're going to wait till the entire season's available to watch it?
That's what Rainbow Hawk says.
I know, but you said same.
No, I said, I don't know.
Oh, sorry. I maybe misheard.
Maybe you misunderstood what I
thought
said.
You said same. I'm going to watch it.
No, I'm watching it every week.
Yeah, okay.
But I can understand waiting until it's over so you can binge it. There's something about binging a show that's fun.
I've done that with shows, for sure. We got Abel's said, probably not, but my girlfriend loves Last of Us, so we might watch it together at some point. Well, sounds like you got a good lady there.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're going to be watching it. If she loves The Last of Us, you guys are going to be watching it.
That's a fact.
It's just the way it is. Next, we got Determined Torres, who said, the reason why I said not a chance is because I don't feel like it, really. Maybe I'm not that much of a movie/show guy.
No, they said, I just don't feel it.
Oh,
that's a slightly different.
I had a word. I just don't feel it. Maybe I'm not a movie show guy. Hey, I mean, I get it. I don't really, especially like more intense drama shows, I don't usually go for them at all. I'm a comedy.
Randy does not.
Comedy through and through. That's the only shows I watch, but I love The Last of Us enough to break the mold for this.
Yeah, Randy's the guy who it took years and years for him to watch Breaking Bad, and he never finished it.
No.
Which I still don't understand. Anyway, Kyle Price said, so you can remake a game and make a live action show, but can't even fully develop the multiplayer first? ! Question mark, !
Yeah.
You would be correct.
And I'm going to be an optimist here. I'm going to say that maybe that means that the multiplayer is just going to be straight fire because they've taken the time with it. They didn't rush it out.
I don't want anybody to rush anything anymore because all we do is get burned.
Right. Don't rush it. Take your time.
Yeah.
I'd rather it, you know, it started at the multiplayer thing, from what I understand, started as a multiplayer for The Last of Us Part 2. They decided, you know what, let's make this its own thing. And they've taken years after that. So it could be really great.
Yeah.
Or they could be trying to figure out a way to get microtransactions in a way, and they just can't figure out how to do it without it coming across as like blatant microtransactions.
They could be doing that. Way to put that evil out there, Randy.
I'm just saying, it's a chance. There's a chance. I got to be a pessimist too.
For an optimist, you're pretty pessimistic.
Yeah. So next we got Arsenal 3A357 who said Xbox fanboys saying no. I mean,
Maybe.
If you're an Xbox fanboy, you probably haven't played The Last of Us, and you probably don't appreciate it. So I do understand what you're saying, but that being said, leave the Xbox fanboys alone. I'm an Xbox fanboy and a PlayStation fanboy and a Nintendo fanboy.
And
I'm just a fanboy.
you know, maybe those Xbox fanboys, if maybe they have a PC and soon they can play Part 1 on PC.
They can already play remastered, I think, right? Is that already
I don't
on
know.
PC?
I don't honestly know. Is it?
I don't know. I feel like it should be, but maybe it's not because it is a Sony game and they're just now really getting into the PC market. So I don't know.
I don't think remastered is on PC.
Okay.
No, it's
well,
not.
waiting on The Last of Us Part 1 then. I don't know when that's going to happen, but hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Hopefully
All right.
soon.
Well, Randy, we've reached games of the week.
We have. Okay. This week, I've had a good week for gaming.
Me too.
Mostly because I started playing A Plague Tale: Innocence, and dude, that game is phenomenal. The atmosphere is just next level incredible. So good. It looks amazing. Like everything about it is super cool. It's a stealth game, which I knew it was a stealth game going in, but it is a stealth game. Daniel, you got messages coming in?
I guess I didn't have my laptop muted.
How unprofessional.
It wouldn't have been that. It would have just been a ding in the background if Randy hadn't called it out.
Unprofessional. But yeah, A Plague Tale: Innocence. I'm all in on the Plague Tale now. I love the stuff. I've got the second one coming in the mail, and I will be playing it immediately after finishing the first one.
Nice.
Super excited. Also, still working through Near Replicant. I've already rolled credits on ending A, but there are 5 endings, so I'm going to work through some of the other endings. And then this week, I finished playing Doki Doki Literature Club. I know I said that I would update you on that, and after a few hours, it picks up, and it picks up hard. It gets crazy.
I'm excited to eventually try. I'm very curious.
It's weird, though, dude. It's real weird.
I'm real curious about that game.
And then Catherine and I have been playing Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga. And
Good job
we're going
sticking it out,
so
man.
slow through that game because I keep falling asleep playing it.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite game.
Yeah, I
It's
get
just
that.
not. It's just not. But we're sticking it out. We're going to see it through. We're like we're getting close to the end. We're about there.
Well, I'm going to use that as a segue into my game of the week, which is only one game, but
Again.
I have still had like the best week of gaming that I've had in a very long time. I'm still just playing The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, and it is quickly climbing the charts as one of my favorite games I've ever played. I've said for a long time that my top 3 games, I've said for a long time my top 2 are Last of Us 1 and then Last of Us 2. And then the third spot has changed a little bit historically. It's been like Breath of the Wild sometimes. Sometimes I felt like it was God of War 2018. I could see The Witcher slotting in there, man. I could see The Witcher slotting in at number 3. I don't know that it could take the number 2 slot. And the number 1 slot's pretty much locked down, lock and key.
Yeah.
But I am loving it so much that I'm not even going to make fun of the fact that there's a character named Doo-Doo. And that really says something because that's something that, I don't even laugh. When they're like, I need to go save Doo-Doo. Like, I don't even laugh. I'm just like, yes, please tell me where Doo-Doo is and I will go kill for him. I will kill for my Doo-Doo.
Oh my God.
I will slay for my Doo-Doo.
I'm so glad that you're loving it because for the last couple of years, I've been tirelessly trying to convince you to play The Witcher.
Tirelessly.
Because I was like, I knew you would love it, but you just had to play it.
It is so good.
Yeah.
I just get lost. Like I just get it in my head that I'm like, well, I want to assemble this whole set of Witcher armor. And then I spend like 3 hours just doing that and like tracking down like the crafting components and stuff. And like, I haven't wanted to do that in a long time. I haven't wanted to do that in a game in a long time. Since
It's the
like
type of game to
Skyrim.
make you want to do that.
Yes.
It really is.
Because I want Geralt to be decked out and look awesome and be a straight ass kicker. And he is. My Geralt, for this point in the game, he is a straight ass kicker.
You've got him. He's OP for this point in the game.
I don't know if he's OP. I mean, I am.
You're not way above where you should be in terms of levels, right?
I'm above some of the quests I'm doing, but for the main quest, so I still haven't gone to Skellige.
Skellige.
And the recommended level for the Skellige quest is 16, and I'm 15.
Oh, okay.
But I'm almost done, I think, with all the stuff in Novigrad. So I'm fixing to do it, and so I think I'm just like exactly where I should be.
You seem like you're doing the game like I did, where I just tried to make sure that my level matched the things I was doing.
Yeah.
And I just kind of did it that way. And once I was ready to move on to the main quest, once I was leveled up enough, I did it.
I have done a couple things. Like, I was like level 11, and I went and did a quest that was recommended level 24, just because that was the quest to open up like the best armorer in Novigrad, and I needed to get this piece of the Griffin Witcher. I needed to get a sword crafted, a silver sword, and he was the only one that could do it. So I went and did his
Was
quest.
it tough being way under leveled?
No.
Some games are
The
like
fights
that.
were hard. I mean, the fights, I had to be more strategic and chip away a little more. That was it.
It reminds me of when I was playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I was like, the suggested level would be like way off. It would be like, you got to be level 125 or something. I don't remember the exact. And I would be like level 60. And I didn't even notice that I was under leveled. And it's like artificial bloating. I don't like it.
Yeah. So I'm not going to worry too much about levels.
Yeah.
But,
So,
except that I'm trying to level up my skills,
Well, now that we've kind of made it to the end here, if you made it all the way to the end of the podcast, we want to say thank you. First of all, also, I forgot to mention this earlier, but if you have any thoughts on The Last of Us, I meant to say this earlier.
Yeah.
Leave a comment and let us know your predictions. Let us know what you think is going to happen. And also just let us know if you liked the show, if you watched it, if you didn't watch it, let us know.
Let us know why you thought Marlene was the best casting choice of all time.
Yeah, perfect. It was exactly like the character from the game.
Faithful.
But also, we want to thank you for making it all the way to the end of the podcast. And the way we do that is through our 3 for Dale Club.
Yep. Throw us a 3 for Dale down in the comments, and we'll know you stuck it all the way out to the end.
Yep. Just leave our little code word in the comments, you could say.
It's a code phrase.
It's a code phrase, 3 for Dale.
3 for Dale.
Last week, we had 3 members of the 3 for Dale Club.
3 for Dales.
Guys, we can't have more than 3. So if you see 3 people have already done it, just don't do it.
Just wait till next week.
Yeah, wait till next week. I'm just kidding. We'll do as many. I would love to have as many people as possible in the 3 for Dale Club.
I would like for it to get to that point where we can't even read them all.
We just have to put it on
Put it on screen. Yes.
That's what I want.
That's what I want.
But for right now, we're going to try to read it as much as we can. And right now, it's only 3 people, so we can definitely do that. And we had Punchy Punch.
Yeah, Punchy
again,
Punch.
Back for another return round in the 3 for Dale Club. We got someone new. Guy. Now, I don't know what guy, but a guy.
Guy Sensei from Naruto?
The name was just Guy. So, Guy, thanks for watching.
The strongest taijutsu user of all time.
And then, of course, you know who else was rounding out the 3 for Dale Club.
Heck yeah, Landon Stallings. Thanks again, bro.
Yeah, Landon, thank you for sticking out with us as always, man.
You the man.
All right, well, that's it for today. So until next time, I am Randy.
And I'm Daniel.
And this has been Gaming Gig.
Peace out.